Have you ever looked at someone and thought, they have everything it takes? They're intelligent, they're talented, they're creative. People admire their ideas, praise their abilities, and constantly tell them they have so much potential. Yet 10 years later, they're living almost the exact same life. No major breakthrough, no extraordinary achievement, no dream fulfilled. Meanwhile, someone who seemed less gifted somehow surpasses them. Why does this happen? Why do some people with incredible talent never become who they could have been? I spent decades trying to answer this question, and the truth is both fascinating and unsettling. Because reaching your full potential has surprisingly little to do with talent alone, in fact. And one of the greatest enemies of human potential is something almost everyone experiences: comfort. Not physical comfort, psychological comfort, the comfort of staying exactly where you are. The human brain is designed to keep you safe, not successful. Thousands of years ago, survival depended on avoiding unnecessary risks. Today, your brain still follows that ancient programming. Every time you consider starting a business, changing careers, speaking in public, launching a YouTube channel, or pursuing a dream you've secretly carried for years, your brain doesn't ask, will this make you extraordinary? It asks, will this keep you safe? Safety almost always wins. This is why so many people mistake comfort for happiness. They're different. Comfort feels good today. Growth often feels uncomfortable today. But rewarding tomorrow, potential is almost always hidden behind discomfort. Another reason people never reach their full potential is because they confuse talent with destiny. As children, many people are praised for being naturally smart, naturally athletic, naturally artistic, naturally gifted at first. This sounds encouraging, but psychologists have discovered something surprising. When people believe success depends mainly on talent, they become afraid of situations where they might fail. Because failure suddenly threatens their identity. Imagine two students. One believes intelligence is fixed, the other believes abilities grow through effort. Both struggle with a difficult math problem. The first student thinks, maybe I'm not as smart as everyone believed. The second thinks, I just haven't learned this yet. One protects their identity, the other develops it. Over time, this small difference changes everything. People who believe abilities can grow are far more likely to persist through challenges. Potential doesn't disappear because of failure. It disappears because people stop trying. Then there's another silent killer of potential: perfectionism. Many people imagine perfectionism means having high standards, but psychology reveals something deeper. Perfectionism is often fear disguised as ambition. Some people spend years preparing, researching, planning, learning, waiting. They tell themselves they're getting ready, but underneath that preparation is one terrifying thought: what if I try and I'm not good enough? So they keep preparing forever. Preparation becomes procrastination, wearing expensive clothes. The tragedy is this: the world rarely rewards perfect ideas. It rewards finished ones. Think about every successful entrepreneur, author, musician, athlete, or creator you've ever admired. None of them began with perfection. They began with action. Another fascinating reason people never fulfill their potential is because they underestimate the power of small decisions. We imagine life-changing moments, lucky break, a perfect opportunity, one massive success. Reality is much less dramatic. Potential is usually built through tiny choices, repeated thousands of times. Choosing to read instead of scroll, choosing to exercise instead of sleep, in choosing to save instead of spend, choosing to practice instead of complain. Each decision feels insignificant, but psychology calls this behavioral compounding. Tiny behaviors multiply over time, just like interest grows inside a bank account. Habits grow inside your life. Months later, the difference becomes enormous. Years later, it becomes impossible to ignore. Most people don't fail because of one catastrophic mistake. They fail because of thousands of ordinary choices that slowly move them away from who they wanted to become. Let's talk about fear. Not obvious fear. Invisible fear. Fear doesn't always look. It's dramatic. Sometimes it looks like procrastination. Sometimes it looks like overthinking. Sometimes it looks like endless distractions. Sometimes it looks like staying busy with unimportant work. Your brain is incredibly clever at disguising fear. Instead of admitting, I'm afraid I'll fail, it says, I'll start next month. Instead of saying, I'm afraid people will judge me, it says, I just need a better plan. The excuse feels logical. The emotion remains hidden. Psychologists call this avoidance behavior. Avoidance temporarily reduces anxiety, but every time you avoid something meaningful, your brain learns an important lesson. This situation must be dangerous. Fear grows stronger. Confidence grows weaker. Another reason potential remains hidden is comparison. Social media has made comparison almost impossible to escape. Within minutes, you can watch someone buying their dream house, launching $1 million company, traveling the world, winning awards, or building the perfect body. Your brain quietly asks, why am I so far behind? Here's the problem. You're comparing your everyday reality to someone else's highlight reel. Psychology shows that upward comparison often destroys motivation. Instead of inspiring action, creates discouragement. People begin believing they're already too late. But success isn't a race. It's a direction. Someone else's timeline has nothing to do with yours. One of the most overlooked psychological traps is identity. Every person carries an invisible story about who they are. I'm bad with money. I'm not disciplined. I'm not confident. I'm not a leader. I'm just an average person. The frightening part? Your brain works hard to make those stories true. Psychologists call this self-consistency. People naturally behave in ways that match their identity. If you secretly believe you're someone who quits, you'll eventually quit. Not because you lack ability, because your behavior wants to stay consistent with your self-image. Changing your life often begins by changing the sentence that follows the words. And instead of saying, I want to become disciplined, start asking, what would a disciplined person do today? Identity creates behavior. Behavior strengthens identity. This cycle can either trap you or transform you. Let's discuss another uncomfortable truth many people love. The idea of success more than the process that creates it. They imagine the applause, the money, the freedom, the respect, but they rarely imagine the lonely mornings, the repeated failures, the boring practice sessions, the weekends spent working while others relax. The truth is, extraordinary results are built during extraordinarily ordinary days. No excitement, no applause, no recognition, just repetition. Potential isn't unlocked by dramatic moments. It's unlocked by consistent ones. Another psychological reason people stay stuck is decision fatigue. Every day, your brain makes thousands of decisions. What to wear, what to eat, what to watch, what to reply, where to go, how to spend time. Each decision drains mental energy. Eventually, important choices become harder. Should I work on my dream today or relax? Should I write another chapter or watch another episode? The tired brain almost always chooses immediate comfort. This is why highly successful people simplify their routines. Not because routines are exciting, because routines protect. Mental energy, consistency becomes easier. When fewer decisions are required, let's talk about something rarely discussed: the fear of success. Yes, success itself can feel frightening because success changes its expectations. If you succeed once, people expect you to succeed again. Your responsibilities increase, your visibility increases, your pressure increases. Some people unconsciously avoid reaching their full potential because staying average feels emotionally safer. No expectations, no criticism, no spotlight. The subconscious mind often chooses familiar discomfort over unfamiliar opportunity. Then there's the myth of motivation. People wait until they feel inspired. Tomorrow, next Monday, next month, next year. But psychology repeatedly demonstrates that motivation usually follows action, not the reverse. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates consistency. Waiting rarely creates anything. Even 5 minutes of meaningful work can completely change your mental state. Motion changes emotion. Perhaps the greatest misunderstanding about potential is believing that one day you'll suddenly become a different person, more disciplined, more confident, more fearless, more seductive. But personalities aren't transformed overnight. They're built through repeated evidence. Every promise you keep to yourself becomes proof. Every difficult task you finish becomes evidence. Every uncomfortable action reshapes your identity. Your future self isn't waiting somewhere ahead. You're creating that person right now. One decision at a time. One habit at a time. One ordinary day at a time. Here's something remarkable. Most people dramatically overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 month, yet they completely underestimate what they can accomplish in 5 years of consistent effort. Potential doesn't disappear overnight. It quietly fades every time comfort defeats courage, every time excuses place action, every time fear makes the decision. But here's the hopeful part. Potential is never completely lost. It's simply waiting. Waiting behind the difficult conversation, waiting behind the first step, waiting behind the uncomfortable habit, waiting behind the decision you've been postponing. The life you want may not require becoming a completely different person. It may simply require becoming a slightly better version of yourself every single day, because the people who eventually fulfill their potential aren't necessarily the smartest. They aren't always the most talented. They aren't always the luckiest. They're usually the ones who kept moving after everyone else stopped. They understood something psychology has confirmed again and again. Small, consistent actions defeat occasional brilliance. Talent may open the first door. Discipline opens every door after that. The difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one is often invisible in the beginning. It's hidden inside daily choices that nobody applauds. The world celebrates the finished masterpiece. Psychology reminds us to pay attention to the thousands of invisible brush strokes that created it. So if you've been waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect version of yourself, remember, this potential isn't discovered. It's built one decision at a time, one uncomfortable action at a time, one ordinary day at a time. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the psychology of human behavior and want to unlock more insights that can transform the way you think, live, and grow, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week, we explore the hidden psychology behind success, relationships, intelligence, and the human mind to help you become the best version of yourself. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you believe is the biggest reason most people never reach their full potential? Fear of failure, comfort, procrastination, lack of discipline, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a meaningful discussion.